Alright guys, my name is Lucas. I'm going to be doing my book presentation on A Farewell to Arms. And this book is by a guy named Henry, which is the main character of the novel. And he drives an ambulance for a living during World War I and is known as Lieutenant Henry. It's written in past tense, this whole book is, and the novel doesn't really state the years of the events that happened during the war in the book. It kind of just leaves you stranded and you really don't even know when the events happen or where they take place. And all we know it's within a 2-year time frame, which is from 1916 to 1918. In the book, he meets this girl named Catherine, and she is a certified nurse, and she's also a major in English, and he eventually becomes in love with this girl and really likes to be around her. He really he just enjoys her presence, and he basically just becomes obsessed with her. She nurses at this hospital in Gorizia, Italy, where the Red Cross hospital is, and he also works there as an ambulance driver, as I stated pastly. He is also a veteran and eventually becomes wounded and is sent off to a hospital in Milan where they treat him there. Now Henry actually realizes, this is where Henry actually realizes he falls in love with Catherine, and as soon as Catherine gets to the hospital, he makes love to her, and eventually in the book find out that she's pregnant. So while he's recovering, Henry kind of turns into a half alcoholic and starts to drink a lot more than he usually does, and that's kind of how he relieves his pressure of recovering. Catherine tells Henry that she is 3 months pregnant eventually, and they decide to go on and plan a vacation for 6 weeks, for a 6-week period. The head of the hospital eventually kicks him out of the hospital because of his alcohol abuse, and her name is Miss Von Kempler. And so when he gets kicked out, he moves back to Gorizia, Italy, where he arrives back and gets involved with this thing called the Italian Retreat from Capistrano. And the ambulances they use eventually get stuck in the mud, and they eventually just have to get out and try to get some help. But his crew members really didn't want to help him out at all. They just kind of sat around and didn't want to do anything to help him out. So Henry gets mad and he shoots and kills one of them. Now Henry sets off and tries to find Catherine back in Milan, and what do you know, he runs into her. And they spend the next few days just hanging out, living with each other. But then they figure out that he has an arrest warrant on him, and so since there's an arrest warrant on him, they escape towards Switzerland and eventually rent a cottage there and live in the cottage there until they move back to Gorizia, where the hospital's at. And once they move back to that spot in Italy, Catherine gives birth to the baby, and the baby turns out to be a stalemate, and she has to go through this intense operation that she doesn't survive through it, and neither does the baby. So since the baby doesn't survive and he doesn't survive, it's really a tragic event, and so he walks back to the hospital, but he really doesn't feel anything against it. It's kind of weird. The ending just kind of upsets me and really just doesn't make any sense. Alright, so I figured that the main thing in the book is love, because there are a lot of veterans in the war, and one of them dies, the loved ones that loved him are affected so insanely by it, and it just totally
Brady.
breaks the heart of those people. Brady, you gotta stop. Anyway, some of the characters in this book are Henry, which is the main character, and Catherine Barkley, which is the nurse and Henry's mate, and the baby, which really shouldn't even, well, he was alive for a little bit, but then he only lived for like a few minutes, and just, I don't even know. And Rinaldi, which is a surgeon at the Red Cross Hospital, and some of the other characters in this book are Miss Walker, Miss Von Compron, and Dr. Valentin, which is who did the surgery on the knee of Henry. Pause it. Good job.
How are you gonna keep recording? On.
Well, but overall, I really like this book, and it was a good read. I'd rate it like a 7 out of 10, mainly because at some points the book is really kind of confusing, and you just really had a hard time comprehending what it was trying to state. What else? That's all I got.